Welcome to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. I'm your host, Molly Watts. If you want to change your drinking habits and create a peaceful relationship with alcohol, you're in the right place. This podcast explores the strategies I use to overcome a lifetime of family alcohol abuse, more than 30 years of anxiety and worry about my own drinking, and what felt like an unbreakable daily drinking habit. Becoming an alcohol minimalist means removing excess alcohol from your life so it doesn't remove you from life. It means being able to take alcohol or leave it without feeling deprived. It means to live peacefully, being able to enjoy a glass of wine without feeling guilty and without needing to finish the bottle. With science on our side, we'll shatter your past patterns and eliminate your excuses. Changing your relationship with alcohol is possible. I'm here to help you do it. Let's start now. Well, hello and welcome back to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast with me, your host, Molly Watts, coming to you from, my friends, it is still a bright, clear, beautiful Oregon right now. Very cold, very crisp, windy, but so sunny and bright, and colors in Oregon right now. Brilliant yellows, reds, oranges in the trees, and the greens, the evergreens, of course, but blue sky behind it. So, wow, I have nothing to complain about. Usually I'm complaining by this time about the weather in Oregon, but right now it has been spectacular in November, and I am very, very grateful. Today on the podcast, before we get to it, I want to say that I have another prize winner. And this prize winner is actually someone who left a review on Audible. And you can leave a review on Audible. You can leave a review anywhere that you listen to this podcast, or a review of the book, any place that you have purchased it, and we will find you and put you into the random drawing. And this review, again, comes from Audible, and so fun to see that. It is from Scott K. So Scott K, if you are listening, please email me, molly@mollywatts.com. Let me know that you are the winner of some alcohol minimalist swag. And thank you so much for your review. It's an older review. That's still awesome. And this is what it says. This is your podcast if you are beginning to think maybe you or a family member has been drinking a little more than feels right in this pandemic year, or you have felt alcohol plays too big a role in your life over several plus years, or you have a family history of overuse and you know a 12-step program is not your answer. In a fresh, friendly, informative, and approachable way, Molly Watts breaks down alcohol's true science, explores ways to think positively about choices, and helps you decide if and how alcohol fits in your life. Nothing preachy. This is a wise friend who has forged a peaceful path of her own and allows you along on the journey, encouraging you to be your own navigator. Very easy to listen to, well produced, and each episode stands alone, but I encourage you to start from episode number 1. Number 19 is also a great starting place as it debunks myths about alcohol that might be trapping you. Along with Molly, you will meet fascinating experts or folks that offer resources. I'm a podcast junkie and cannot say enough good things about this one. Well, Scott, thank you so very much for those kind words. And please, if this podcast has helped you in any way, it really would be great if you would leave a review of it somewhere, because it helps other people who are searching for content like this find us. And you might get entered into a drawing you will get entered and you might win some alcohol minimalist swag. All right, on to this week's show. Today, I am sharing a conversation that I had with Adrienne Stillman Krausz. Adrienne and her husband, Jake, are the co-founders of the dry goods beverage company. And Adrienne is just awesome. I really enjoyed talking to her. She's actually a published cocktail writer. And Jake actually is a second-generation vintner from Napa Valley, and they live there in Napa. So kind of, they admittedly enjoy a well-crafted wine, spirit, or cocktail. And they found themselves wanting to cut back on alcohol, and they were really frustrated by the lack of options that they could find beyond high sugary sodas, fruit juice, or sparkling water. And they wanted to figure out, and did a lot of research, and they found some great alternatives and decided to start the dry goods beverage company. And I so appreciated the story and just their passion for this business, and watching them grow has been really exciting. And also just the smaller businesses and the smaller artisanal craft non-alcoholic spirit creators that they're working with and wine creators that they're working with. It's super exciting. So I think you're really going to enjoy hearing from Adrienne. And she actually helped me update my low alcohol, no alcohol holiday drink guide. She added in some of her great recipes. And so you can download that right now over on the website. It's www.mollywatts.com. Just head over there right on the homepage. You should get to be able to download that updated version of the low alcohol, no alcohol holiday drink guide. If you are in the Facebook group, you already have got this. I already uploaded it there. So you will see that there, but you can, if you're not in my Facebook group and you would like to grab it, you could go to the website or come on in and join the Facebook group. We are a great group, the Alcohol Minimalists, and we would love to have you. This episode is dropping the day before Thanksgiving here in the United States. So I want to say a very happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I am so grateful for the many people that share their journeys with me and their kind words, and that appreciate what I'm doing for them. I appreciate all of you who have made this journey for me so worthwhile. And I get to share something that I'm really passionate about and make sense of a lot of old stories that I used to have about alcohol. And I hope that you know how much this work means to me and how much this podcast means to me and how grateful I am for all of it. Have a very happy Thanksgiving to those of you celebrating, and for all of us, the holidays are right around the corner. Here they come. Let's get ready. Have a great week, everyone. And here's my conversation with Adrienne Stillman Krausz. Hey, Adrienne, thank you so much for being here on the Alcohol Minimalist podcast. I am so excited to have this conversation, and I just appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me, Molly. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Yeah. So you have quite an interesting story, an interesting background, and kind of a journey along a different alcohol plane than I am used to. And then you decided to start a non-alcoholic drink a drink company. So we're going to talk about all of it. But first of all, tell me how you got interested in writing about the books that you wrote. The book that is so incredible is a book of alcoholic beverage recipes, like 600 of them, right?
That's right. Yes, that's right. Over more than 600 recipes. It's called Spirited Cocktails from Around the World. And it came out in 2020. Ironically, it was while I was writing that book that I stopped drinking alcohol and started this new phase of my life in dry drinking and getting into kind of the non-alcoholic side of both wine and spirits and cocktails. But I got into the alcohol side of things really in my 20s. I was living in New York City. It was when the craft cocktail scene was exploding. And I started going to some of these new bars, and I just fell in love with what they were doing. And there were definitely some, overindulgent evenings along the way, but there is something still that I really appreciate about the craft that goes into making really high quality spirits, making really high quality cocktails. And that was a really exciting ecosystem to discover and be a part of. And I ended up leaving my job in finance to work in cocktails and spirits. And kind of, fast forward a number of years, I then had the opportunity and was approached by Phaidon, the publisher of my book, to work on my first book, which is called Where Bartenders Drink, which is a guide to bars around the world as recommended by bartenders, as the name suggests. And then I worked on Spirited, which, as you said, is a collection of over 600 cocktail recipes from all over the world, I think it's more than 60 countries, and it spans, 500 years.
Right.
So it's a
And there's a
very,
little bit of, I mean, and that's what's cool about it too. There's history to it. And you talk about it, it's not just like the recipes. There's a little bit of the culture and the societal, I mean, just the celebration and the gathering that we've done around cocktails over the years, right? Over
yes.
the, I mean, hundreds of years.
Yes, and that's really, I think, one of the things that is most interesting to me about cocktails and 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 wine and spirits in general is there's this really rich history, social history, cultural history. Humans have been coming together to eat and drink together since the beginning of time, and
Yeah.
often that involved alcohol.
Mhm.
So there's a really fascinating and rich history behind a lot of these recipes, things that come out of colonial America, things that come out of the British Empire and their connections with India. Less I'm looking for the right word, less in a less positive way, that there's also looking at how the slave trade
Mhm.
impacted, and those trade routes, though all
Mhm.
of those things impacted how we drink today.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting to dive into that and understand more about it. And for me, that understanding really enhances my appreciation of the drink.
Yeah. And I mean, this book, I mean, so first of all, folks, I just want you to understand this book is not only is it a recipe book, but it is, I'm now searching for a word. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's picture, I mean, it's beautiful to look at too, which I think is super awesome. And I really enjoyed looking through it, and it gets some really fabulous reviews.
Thank you. Yes,
I
it
mean,
was it was really well received, which is always, very nice. And the photographer who did all of the drink photography really did a fantastic job. So it really is meant to be a an encyclopedic reference book for drinks. And
right.
the good news is, so the book is written, it's alcoholic recipes. There are a handful of non-alcoholic recipes included,
Hmm.
but the other thing that's sort of, good news for probably everybody listening to this podcast is that you
Hmm.
can also use a lot of the new non-alcoholic spirits and other products to recreate, or to make, non-alcoholic versions of
Yeah,
recipes that are in the book, and kind of achieve many of the same flavor profiles just using non-alcoholic ingredients.
which is really exciting and cool. And so that leads us into, Adrienne, tell me what inspired you. You're working on this really like, almost a hymnal for
Yeah.
for 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 cocktail recipes. And during this process, you decide to stop drinking alcohol. Somebody who has clearly an interest and has been involved in the alcohol industry for years. So
Yes.
tell me about that.
So my husband and I wanted to start a family, and uh, we were not successful in the beginning. And so one of the first things to go is, as with many other women have had this experience, is alcohol. I also had some specific health issues, and so related to that. And so I gave up alcohol, caffeine, sugar, wheat, dairy,
Oh
probably
my,
something else that I can't
oh
remember.
my goodness.
It was a lot of
Oh,
things. Yes.
the coffee kind of makes my heart hurt just a little bit.
I kept like 100% dark chocolate, and that was really a saving grace
Hmm.
through that experience. And and my husband ended up largely giving up alcohol as well during this time. And along the way, a friend of ours recommended that we check out some of these non-alcoholic alternatives, that these new products that were coming to market. And at first, we were very skeptical. We kind of thought,
Hmm.
like, what would be the point of a non-alcoholic gin? That just
Hmm.
sounds sort of
Right.
depressing and probably not very delicious.
Mm-hmm.
But we said, okay, we'll give it a try. So we
Mm-hmm.
went online and we ordered a whole bunch of things, and we were just totally blown away and like surprised. We definitely came into this with a, as I said, a skeptical mindset. And we started learning more about these products and learning more about the people who were making them. And what we found is that there is a whole group of people who have a really similar story to ours, not necessarily trying to have children, but although there are some people who fall
Sure.
into that category, but people who have some kind of reason that they are looking to cut out alcohol or reduce alcohol in their life. But they care about quality and taste, and they don't want to compromise those things. They still want to be able to have a delicious adult beverage, whether
Mm-hmm.
at a party or, to unwind at the end of the day, or a glass of wine with a meal. And they were disappointed in what was out there. They weren't finding products that met their standards. And, a lot of I call it kind of the like first generation of non-alcoholic drinks, a
Yep.
lot of them made by big companies, not
Yep.
really interested in craft or quality ingredients, packed with a lot of sugar,
Mm-hmm.
and that really aren't kind of up to par in our new, this new world, where on the alcohol side, we have, as I talked about, these craft spirits, craft cocktails, incredible wines, incredible beers. Just because I'm not drinking alcohol doesn't mean that I want to drink apple juice.
Right.
I'm not a 5-year-old either. So we found this ecosystem of people who were really in the same boat as us and who had decided to go out and create. They said, okay, what is available is not good enough. I'm going to go make my own thing. And it became this, it is very similar to the craft producers on the alcohol side, or
Yep.
any kind of, artisanal food
Mm-hmm.
maker, frankly. And so that was just really exciting to us. And we saw an opportunity to create the Dry Goods Beverage Company, which is our non-alcoholic online store. And we really came into it and we said, there's so many great things out there, but it's hard to navigate as, if you're trying to find,
Yeah.
a good quality non-alcoholic
Yep.
wine, where the heck do you start? And a lot of these products are not available in local retail yet.
Mm-hmm.
They may be
Yep.
coming, but in most places in the country, it's difficult to find. And it's also difficult to find things that are going to match your personal taste, because everybody has different taste. What I think is delicious, may not be your favorite, and vice versa. So we saw kind of a hole, if you will, in the market to create an online retail shop where we could bring together what we thought and what we think are really the highest quality, the best products out there, and to help people find the right thing, for their own personal taste. And that is how the Dry Goods Beverage Company was born. And it's actually almost exactly 2 years ago that we started working on that project.
And it's going really well. What I love about what you guys have done specifically is just kind of what you said. First of all, you bring a different perspective because you had experience in the spirits industry, and really an eye for, just as you said, kind of the craft of making these beverages. So I think you have a palate that, I don't want to say discerning, like the discerning palate, but you have an eye for that kind of attention to detail and seeing things. And so I'm really excited. I have not tried yet one of this, but I'm really excited to try it. The Lights 0.5 Pinot Noir that's on your website, because I probably hear more than anything else from my group that the one thing that nobody can seem to find a good one of is a non-alcoholic red wine.
Red. I know.
Yeah.
It was so hard when we got, first got started. We tried so many bad red wines.
Yeah.
And we just, if we don't like it, we don't carry it. So for a long time, we didn't have any red wine alternatives because we just couldn't find any that we felt good about putting on our, on our virtual shelves. And then the Lights came along and created their 0.5 Pinot Noir. It really tastes like Pinot Noir, which is, what we're kind of looking for in the product. If it says Pinot Noir on the label, then I want it to taste like Pinot Noir.
Right.
And I think they totally nailed it. One thing I like about the Lights as a producer, they're German and they make alcoholic wine. That's their original family business. They've, it's generations that they've been making these wines, and they're very well respected for those products. And then the current generation owner decided, hey, why don't we have high quality non-alcoholic wines? I'm going to do that. And so they have a whole range. They make Riesling, which of course is they're in Germany, sure. And that's the classic grape there. Very good. They make a Chardonnay. They make a Blanc de Blanc, which is a white blend, which is also very good. And now they have the Pinot Noir. And I think their whole lineup is really, really fantastic. And part of the reason that I think they're good is that they bring that classic and traditional winemaking perspective to these non-alcoholic wines. And again, they're not packing them with sugar and kind of fake stuff. Mm-hmm. They're really, very few ingredients, very pure. And the Pinot Noir is definitely a favorite.
I am very excited to try it because, like I said, that's probably the thing I hear most about. Is just that is not being able to find a good red. And I have found, a couple of especially sparkling whites. I think I can find a non-alcoholic sparkling wine. They really taste literally almost the same to me. I tasted zero difference. Yeah. But it's, so I'm definitely in, I'm in for trying the wine. Hey all, just a quick break in the show to talk with you for a minute about Sunnyside. It's fall and it's time for tailgaters and holiday parties on the horizon. There is never a better time than right now to put a mindful plan into place. And Sunnyside is my recommendation for how you can really use a tool that provides a way to track your drinks, measure your progress, and really uses proven behavior change techniques to create lasting habit change. The thing is, you can reduce your drinking by 30% in the first 30 days with Sunnyside. And you can save over $50 a month, cut out 2,500 calories out of your diet, and these are just based on average results. I know that people that I talk to and people that I work with are using Sunnyside and getting great results. If you'd like to find out if it will work for you, go to www.sunnyside.co/minimalist to get started on a free 15-day trial today. The other thing that I love about your particular about dry goods, and just, I guess, because again, it's your perspective and it's your background, is you have got a ton of recipes, of non-alcoholic recipes on there, and they're really cool. And I just cannot wait to share that with our crowd because and so tell me, do you have a favorite? I know you've had a favorite. I looked at when I was looking up your bio, you used to have a favorite alcoholic drink. Do you have now a favorite non-alcoholic drink?
I would say that my favorite, and this is really my go-to, is from a brand called For Bitter For Worse. Mm-hmm. And they, as the name suggests, they are a maker of bitter products. If you like bitter flavors, if on the alcoholic side, if you like a Negroni, this is a fabulous option. And it's a flavor profile that can be very difficult to find in the non-alcoholic space. Often things tend to be fruity or citrusy or a little bit sweeter. Mm-hmm. So I I love those flavors, but I also really like bitter flavors. And specifically, they make a product called Saskatoon.
Okay.
And it kind of reminds me of a Krausz. It's sort of like a sweet vermouth,
Mm-hmm.
but with more bitter.
Okay.
And I love it just plain over ice, a few dashes of orange bitters, maybe an orange slice.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the perfect aperitif. And it's particularly nice as we get into kind of cooler weather.
Yeah.
And they're actually based, I know you're up in Portland. They are also in Portland. And it's another really cool founder story. It's another husband and wife team. And Shelly had some health issues where she couldn't drink alcohol anymore. And again, this was couldn't find anything that she liked. And so they
Uh-huh.
created their own.
Awesome. Oh, I love that. I do. I love that. I'm going to look that up too.
Yeah.
Um, what I like about too, again, I've got, well, I mean, obviously I keep saying what I like, what I like. I like a lot of things going on here, folks, at the Dry Goods Beverage Company. And I'm going to link it in the show notes. You're going to be able to find it. But um, you, it's because it isn't just like all the mainstream, bigger company, um, I'm not familiar with a lot of these folks. And I love that because just like that story, right? These are people that are innovators and they're finding new ways to do this. And some of
Mm-hmm.
this stuff is really becoming quite, just quite innovative for what is,
Yes,
going on. And I really love that people are
definitely.
doing this.
I do too. And it's really inspiring to work with the producers that we partner with. I love telling their story, and I have made an effort on across the website to include the story of each product on the page. So you not only get, what are the ingredients and kind of some of the basics, but I also really wanted to share those stories of these people because I think for me, it really ends up enhancing my appreciation of the drinks. And there are some really interesting and cool people doing some very cool things out there. And it's really fun to be a part of that.
Yeah. And what I love too is like they're finding these kind of like, I mean, so sometimes they call them botanicals. Like there's a
Mm-hmm.
different, like
Mm-hmm.
they're not just, it's not just, oh, this is a gin replacement. Like it can
Right.
be, you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
it's a totally different, it's really kind of its own category in and of itself.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's an interesting point to get into. There's kind of two main categories of products in the non-alcoholic space. There are ones that are trying to recreate a very
Right.
specific flavor. So that, non-alcoholic Pinot Noir
Right.
fits into that category, or non-alcoholic gin, non-alcoholic whiskey. Obviously the idea is that those products taste comparable to their alcoholic counterparts, and you could presumably substitute them in drinks calling for alcoholic gin or alcoholic whiskey. Sometimes that works better than others. My experience is that some spirits are, depending on the non-alcoholic spirit, they kind of lend themselves better to some types of drinks, versus others. But
Mhm.
which I'm happy to speak to, but I'll finish this thought first. So in the one camp, we have these, you know, really they're trying to mimic or imitate
The
already
alcoholic. Yeah.
existing alcoholic drinks. And then on the other side, we have non-alcoholic drinks that are just their own thing. And
Hmm.
they're delicious, interesting drinks that happen to not have alcohol.
Hmm.
And often what I would say is that they're trying to recreate the overall kind of experience, or maybe they're trying to take the place of wine on the table without necessarily exactly mimicking the taste of alcoholic wine. And
Hmm.
I like I like products on both that fall into both of those categories, but I think that's, anytime you're creating something that is an imitation, it by definition it is going to be somewhat less than.
Yeah. Right.
And alcoholic gin is 40% alcohol. if you take out 40% of what's in the bottle, it's a lot.
Right.
It is a big percentage.
Right.
So there's just always going to be that's part of it. I still think that you can have a delicious non-alcoholic gin and tonic. I still think you can have a great non-alcoholic margarita. We sell products that fall into both of these camps, but I think that sometimes the products that are just doing their own thing, they give themselves a little more space, and so they don't have the same kind of comparison, the one-to-one, comparison to kind of to go up against. They just can exist on their own as their own thing. And the For Bitter for Worse line is definitely one of those, falls into that category. And another one that's our top seller for us and also a personal favorite is called Copenhagen Sparkling Teas.
Oh yeah, I saw those too, which really interesting.
They are really interesting. So created by a sommelier, a Danish sommelier, and he went in and was looking for, how could he create, actually he was looking for a pairing for like a dessert, I think, and he didn't like any of the wine options, and so he decided to go see if he could find a tea pairing instead. And this inspired him to create this line of drinks. There's a lot of really interesting parallels between fine wine and tea. Actually, there's, especially in Asia, there are big collectors of tea. There's vintage tea. We in the US, we have, Twinings, and we maybe don't get too much more advanced than that, but there can, in really fine teas, there's a beautiful depth of flavor and kind of nuance, and you can have fruity notes, and you can have earthy notes, and you have tannin, which is, tannin is like, imagine a really oversteeped tea, it like totally dries out your mouth. That's tannin.
Right, which is like in wine. Yeah.
Which is like in wine, especially in red wines. It's part of what gives red wine kind of interest in the mouth. And, again, when you're removing all these things from the, a non-alcoholic product, you've got to have something else that makes it interesting. So the tannin is part of that. So the teas are, we have two flavors. There's a white sparkling and then a rosé sparkling, and they don't taste like wine. You're not going to ever drink this and be confused that it's Chardonnay. Right. But it kind of hits all the same notes as a glass of wine. So you've got that fruitiness, you've got some of that tannin, you've obviously got some bubbles because it's sparkling. You have a whole bunch of different interesting, flavors that evolve in the mouth. They pair really well with food. So that's definitely a favorite, and definitely falls into the category of this, much more sophisticated drink that, if you consider yourself to be a wine, like really a wine lover, or, God forbid, a wine snob, this is the drink for you.
Okay. Oh, I love that too. That's awesome information. Awesome. One thing that I am super excited about, folks, Adrienne was nice enough to share. She shared some of the best recipes, some of her favorites with me. We are updating the holiday non-alcoholic, low alcohol beverage guide. And I think you are going to love that. So you will be able to find that on my website. And again, when in the show notes, we will link to Dry Goods Beverage Company as well. Lastly, about this, I think before we go too far away from it, you did successfully get pregnant, correct?
Yes, I did. Yes, that's an important part of the story.
It is an important part of the story.
Yes, my son, Timothy, is 6 months old. He was born in May.
Nice. And so now you are a full-time working mama and,
yes,
doing the whole thing and so no desire to go back to the alcohol life. Just know you're good.
I enjoy a good glass of wine here and there. But I really only want a little bit, and I only want it if it's really good.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I think I evolved to, was I'm only going to have a drink if it's a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to have a glass of wine just because it's there and whatever's on offer. It's only like if it's something really quality, and that I'm really going to enjoy, as opposed to just drink kind of out of habit or because other people are drinking or whatever.
Yeah, because we
And
talked about that, the mommy wine culture kind of like, right?
yeah,
It's like, yeah,
yeah,
that lot of messages around that, especially when you're dealing with working
there,
in mom.
there are. And, for me, I'm exclusively nursing my son. And so there's a
Yep.
consideration there for sure. But even beyond that, I need all of my energy to be a mom
Right.
and get my work done. I do not have time to have a headache or be kind of fuzzy,
Yeah.
I don't, it doesn't, it, I'm just not interested in doing that anymore. It doesn't bring me any joy.
Yeah.
So I enjoy a good glass of wine here and there. It's nice, when my husband and I can sit down and have dinner and have a glass of wine. Or we recently, my husband's family is Jewish, and we celebrated Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and where you fast all day and then you break your fast in the evening. And the tradition in their family is to break fast with a little small sip of cognac, and that's a really beautiful family tradition. So that kind of thing is I enjoy, but I don't have a greater desire to,
Yeah.
be drinking kind of more regularly.
Yeah. Well, I love everything that you are doing, and I think that this is going to be really fun to see what happens. Because like I said, really is a growing industry. It's a evolving industry. It's evolved even since I started doing this podcast. Things have
Absolutely.
changed so much. And I am all the time, but I'm still really amazed by how many people are like, oh, there's like non-alcoholic wine. Like people that, they literally do not know that
Definitely.
that it exists. And
Yes.
so there's an education piece to this that you're doing. There is, and also just making sure that people know that this is really high quality stuff. This is not,
Definitely.
this is for somebody who wants a really good experience. So
Yes.
I am super excited to share that with everybody. And Adrienne was so great. She set up a discount code for listeners of the Alcohol Minimalist podcast. So if you go to Dry Goods Beverage Company, and I will again link it in the show notes, and you put in the discount code minimalist10, that's minimalist10, you can get 10% off your orders from Adrienne, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And the URL, I know you'll put it in the notes. The website is drygoodsdrinks.com.
drygoodsdrinks.com. And so, folks, you got to go check it out. You have to go see and check out um, all the wonderful recipes, because truly, even whether you're doing it with non-alcoholic drinks, or non-alcoholic spirits, or using some spirits in there too, because you've got great recipes 100%. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'll just say I personally test all of the recipes, which
and
there's a lot of bad recipes out there. I
right,
test them
right.
all. They're, look, you may not like all of them. That is okay. We have different taste, but they are sound recipes. And you can filter by flavor and spirit alternative. We're happy to provide personalized recommendations if folks have questions about what they might like. We really want to help people find drinks that they're going to enjoy that really fit their personal taste.
Yep. And you've got the other, like some of the other stuff too, like the syrup, the fiery ginger syrup, and
Mm-hmm.
the bitters, things on that also kind of are, ancillary little items or other things that are going to make the drinks really special too. So
yes, definitely.
Adrienne, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story, your background, your mission here, your passion for this business. And I'm excited to see what happens for you going forward in 2023 and for your family.
Thank you, Molly. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping you change your drinking habits and to create a peaceful relationship with alcohol. Use something you learned in today's episode and apply it to your life this week. Transformation is possible. You have the power to change your relationship with alcohol now. For more information, please visit me at www.mollywatts.com.